Okay, so slightly different video today. We've had trouble getting the car to idle properly. This is not its original carburetor, this is an aftermarket that was put on. But I don't think it's set up right. It's taking a lot of turns of the mixture screws to make it idle, and that's apparently not the way it's supposed to work. There was a very good video, or set of videos, which I'll link, by a guy who explained the workings of this carburetor, and it was very useful to actually work out what was going on. And one of the things he said was that the idle circuits on it mean that it should run with the throttle butterflies shut. At the moment, in order to get it to run, those throttle butterflies, that one there, is open. So it can't hurt to give this thing a good service. Also, the other thing that the guy who sold me the car told me was that it was running okay and he ran out of fuel. There was no fuel filter on it, so maybe the jets are bunged up. I got a service kit. Let's take it apart and see what we've got. It can't hurt to give it a bit of a service. So we'll see if we find anything interesting on the way. As I say, it was an aftermarket. The original, I've got the original carburetor. It's actually in the boot of the car, which is a Solex, and it's a 4-barrel carburetor. So generally it's 2 barrels that run it, one for each bank of 3 cylinders, and then there's this set of auxiliary barrels that come in at certain engine conditions, and they come in under vacuum. I don't know why that carburetor was replaced. I know people have trouble getting them to run properly, but whether that's the carburetor or the person setting it up, I don't know. We shall see. But the rebuild kit for that Solex is frighteningly expensive. So I thought it might just be an idea to do this one, because this is a reasonably available and cheap rebuild kit. Well, that was definitely harder than it should have been to undo 4 nuts. That's the adapter plate that converts the Weber to the same size inlet as the Solex has, so that the original air cleaner can sit on it. Let's recover that gasket. T. Oh, it's better. Right, let's take the top cover off. I seem to remember there being a very similar carburetor to this on the Ford Cortina Mark IV 2 litre, but in that case it wasn't 2 barrels working together. There was a first barrel, and then the second barrel opened later at higher acceleration, whereas this appears just to be 2 barrels that work simultaneously with one another. Be nice to see at some stage if I can find out how old this is. Get some idea of when it was actually put on the car. Set of top cover bolts. We need to get this little pin out from the choke mechanism. And that should then disconnect the choke. The top should come off. Is there anything else holding it? Which I don't think there is. Okay, maybe a bit of gentle persuasion. There we go. Choke mechanism out. Wow. Okay. I think we've got some idea as to why Roy is not running properly. That is filthy. That is like, it's like rust or something. It's horrible. And it's right in the bottom of the float bowl. There's loads of it. Okay, so rebuilding this carburetor, definitely the right thing to do. As I was saying earlier on, this is, if you like, is a quick win. I wouldn't be averse to putting the original carburetor back on the car, but I don't know why it was taken off. It may be faulty. It may, there's a lot of diaphragms and things on that other carburetor, and so it may be faulty. It could have been taken off for a reason. So I wouldn't mind getting this running, properly, and we can then see how the engine runs with this, and then there's nothing to stop me getting the other one refurbished as well and swapping it back on, because this running in a good reconditioned format will always have a resale value actually. Okay, so they're the air corrector jets, and according to my chum on YouTube, under there should be the emulsion tubes. See if we can just get them out. Here we go. There's one. All this gunge in the bottom of the carburetor does actually fit with what the chap who sold it to me said, of it running okay until it ran out of fuel, and it dragged all of that out of the bottom of the tank. That emulsion tube does not want to come out. Little bit of time lapse here while I'm wrestling with this emulsion tube. It doesn't come out in the end, so I'm going to order a new one because I'm going to damage it taking it out. In the meantime, that's the accelerator pump at the top there. Slightly wider. Okay. That's the accelerator pump valve. These are the main jets. That's the power valve there. With its washer. And these are the idle jets. One in each side. It's these that I suspect might have an issue. Take this choke mechanism out the way. Of course, that might be the reason this carburetor was put on the car, because whoever did it wanted a manual choke rather than the very complex automatic one that was on the Solex, which was a combination, as I remember it from my old car 30 years ago, was a combination of a heater. It actually had like an electric heater on it, which turned it on and off, but also there was the cooling water ran through it, so it was like both an electric timed choke and one that was done with a blast of heat from the cooling system. So we get the ventries out. You don't want to move. Probably tap those out from the other side. Okay, this is the anti-stall here. Let's take that apart. Oh, there's a load of gunge in there. There's a lot of sediment in there. Oh, there's a little tiny ball bearing in there. Let's just recover that and put it with the anti-stall. This is why I'm doing this on the dining room table. Those of you that have significant others in your life may not be allowed to do things like this on the dining room table. I do not have a significant other in my life, therefore I can do with my dining room table whatever I like. Right, let's take the accelerator pump off. Yeah, more sediment. There's a little valve in there. Here we go. The emulsion tube still doesn't want to come out. Okay. Idle mixture screws. Let's take off these butterflies. So just working away here, taking the throttle butterflies out. I've decided it's best really to take everything out so we can get this carburetor absolutely clean. There's a bit of a problem here where I find that there's a big burr on the throttle spindle, which is causing difficulties pulling it out. That's actually going to need a little bit of a countersink putting into the back end of that thread to take that burr out before it all goes back, to make sure that we don't have this problem again. It looks like somebody's completely over tightened the throttle butterfly screws at some stage. Kind of goes with the thing that many people have said about these Spanish versions of these Weber carburetors not having quite the build quality that the old Italian ones used to have. Making sure there that I'm keeping all of the parts in the correct order so I can put it back together again. So again, we'll put that all back together the way it came off. So, see if we can persuade those secondary venturis to come out. There we go. That's all it needed. Couple of quick taps, and that is out. So we've got, all we've got left in there is that emulsion tube, which is stuck. So yet again, I'm wrestling with this emulsion tube. There's just genuinely no way it's coming out. I'd be tempted to leave it, but I'm wondering why it's stuck in there, and is that part of the problem? Is there lots of corrosion or something around the tube that's stopping proper fuel flow? So it's got to come out regardless. However, I think there's one thing that we can do before anything, and that is to give all of that gunge a good soak in carb cleaner. I've got, in the van, I've got my compressor, and I think it will be very wise, once it's all had a good soak in carb cleaner, to give it a really good blowing out of all of its passageways. Let's give it a good squirt of carb cleaner. I think this carburetor is quite new. It's got date marks on it that say 23, which would make it a 2023. I assume. Let's let that have a soak. It's funny, it looks older than 2023. Maybe it's just grubby. I had a bit of a hard life. I mean, I look older than 23, but that's because I am grubby and I have had a hard life. Okay, let's turn our attention to the top cover while that all has a bit of a soak. Because my other guess was this was over-fueling. I was fairly certain it was over-fueling. But then again, if its idle system was blocked up, it would do. I need a span up. Ooh. Can you see how bent all of that is there? That's not right. That float height's probably wrong. So that's definitely not going to be helping matters. My YouTube guru tells me via his video that the float height is actually quite critical on these. So here it's more corrosion. The pin that holds the float in is just genuinely not wishing to come out at all. I'm having a real fight with it, trying to get the pin out to get the float disconnected. It's all very strange because the carburetor's got date stamps on it which make it look like it's only a couple of years old, but it really does look older than that, and it does feel like it's had a harder life than 2 years, particularly in a car that hasn't done any miles in 2 years. Not sure there's any mileage in taking out the choke plates, but while we're at it, if a job's worth doing, etc. The really interesting thing is for a thing that is supposed to be operating theatre style clean when it works, that's absolutely precision. The gunge that's come out of it, it's like I'm on the beach. Definitely needed a clean. I'm just going to go and get a spanner and we'll undo that because I really want to see what the fuel filter's like. Well tight. Whoever put this together had their Weetabix. Oh, doesn't need to be that tight. Whoa. Yeah. There's gunge. Bits of rubber fuel pipe. Yeah. And there's more gunge in there. Okay, so I've actually got an electronics microscope for dealing with very small bits of electronics, which is something else I play with occasionally. And I thought it would be interesting to take a look at some of the jets underneath and see what state they're in. This is one of the idle jets. We've got two idle jets. We've got our main jets there. Sorry, they're the air corrector jets. These are the main jets, and one emulsion tube that I've managed to get out. The other emulsion tube is firmly fixed in there. I've taken the decision that to get it out, I'm going to hurt it. And because it's stuck, it needs to come out because there's something gumming it in there. So I've ordered a new one from Anthony at Fast Road Cars Limited, who sent me the rebuild kit. So no doubt that'll be here after the bank holiday in the next few days. And then we can pop a new one in there. I've also, I'm a sucker for buying tools. I really am terrible for buying tools. So I bought an ultrasonic cleaner on Amazon. And in the next video on this carburetor, we'll see whether that was a sensible thing to do or not when we stick it through the ultrasonics. But in the meantime, let's have a look. Main jet there. Oh, sorry, air corrector jet. That is a 175. We can check the specs of these in a bit, and also let's see if we've got some light coming through it. Yeah, so all good, all clear, that one. Excellent. Let's have a look at the other air corrector jet. Also a 175 and also nice and clear. Brilliant. Looking at the main jets. When it's clear, nice and clear there. Can't see a marking on it though. Oh, there it is. 145. So 145 main. .145 and nice and clear. So main jets are good. Looking at the idle jets, now these sit in a carrier, so that comes out. That's actually the jet there. So it's a 55 idle jet. Let's see if it's clear. Yes, that one looks looks okay. What's that in there? Yeah, it's clear. Bit gungy, but it's clear. And this is the other idle jet. Oh, that's tight. So it's a 55. And it's clear. Or is it? It's got something in it. That's got some gunge in it. It's difficult to see, but there's definitely something in there. That's not as clear as it should be. Okay. That would figure if that idle jet is slightly blocked up. That would figure why we were having trouble with it running. Yeah, interesting. So I think that's it for today's video, and let's reconvene when the ultrasonic cleaner arrives and the new emulsion tube is here. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share.